Whenever you create a layout, you can expect that users will interact with it in just about any way possible. Layouts that invite the user to enter or edit text, for example, will find many users with their hands on the keyboard looking to use keystrokes to navigate their way among the objects on the layout. For example, users may find it useful to be able to press the Tab key to move from one field to the next. FileMaker anticipates this need at a basic level and automatically includes some of the objects on the layout in a default tab order, so that even without doing anything special, it's possible to get from field to field using the keyboard. However, the default tab order isn't necessarily ideal for a given layout, so it's a good practice to refine it so it suits the way your layout will be used. On this layout, the Notes layout, the default tab order simply moves the cursor through each of the fields in turn. So if I press the Tab key, the first field becomes active. When I press it again, the cursor moves to the next field, and so on through the layout. However, in layout mode, by choosing the Set Tab Order command from the Layouts menu, I can access a dialog along with some accompanying special features that allow me to control various aspects of the tab order. Notice that with the Set Tab Order dialog showing, each of the fields and buttons now has an adjacent arrow box, and the arrow box pointing to each of the field boxes contains a number. The objects that have these arrow boxes are all the layout objects on the current layout that can be controlled or navigated with the keyboard, and the ones that have numbers in their adjacent boxes are the ones that were included in the default tab order. The numbers indicate the sequence of the objects, that is, the number of presses of the Tab key on the keyboard required to reach a given object. Unlike most dialogues, the Set Tab Order dialog lets you make changes on the objects directly while it's displayed. So you can actually click around the arrows that are pointing to different objects on the layout, adding, deleting, or editing their sequential numbering. In this case, the fields in the upper rectangle on the layout aren't ones that would be expected to be entered or directly edited by the user. They're just displayed for information and reference. So having them be in the tab order will just slow the user down. I'm going to remove these fields from the tab order by clicking in their arrow and typing the Delete key on the keyboard to remove their number. That leaves only the two fields in the second panel on the layout in the tab order. Next, although neither of the buttons on the layout was included in the default tab order, it might be reasonable to include them. The Save button down at the lower right, being the next thing that the user is likely to want to do after editing some of the fields, makes sense to be in the tab order right after the last field. So I'll click on its arrow and type a 6, so it will follow the date and note text fields in the tab order. However, I'm going to leave the New Note button out of the tab order because that's a function that I would want the user to think carefully about, since in the solution I want to build, notes might be sometimes edited or reviewed here, but wouldn't normally be added from this layout. Now let's return to Browse mode and look at how the modified tab order works. Pressing the Tab key now enters the record directly in the Date field, bypassing the serial number, Note ID and Reference ID fields. And another press of the Tab key moves the cursor to the end of the second field in the tab order. A third press moves the focus to the Save button. And at this point, I can press the spacebar, the Enter key, or the Return key, and the effect will be the same as if I had clicked with the mouse on the Save button.